gets asked to start off by reversing into a bay. So he selects reverse gear, adjusts his right mirror so he can see where the white lines are and where his back tyre is. He checks all around, including his blind spots and his mirrors, and reverses back slowly. He then waits for his point to turn and turns full lock towards the right, towards the bay, checking his left blind spot as he does this as his front starts to swing out, constantly checking round and slowing to check his mirror to see how he's going, see where the line is. He makes minor adjustments to the steering to get himself in between the lines, waiting till the car's straight, and then straightening the wheels. Again, constantly checking round his right blind spot, right mirror, ahead, middle mirror, and left blind spot, and then backing up in a straight line. Now he's behind the line to the top of the bay, he comes to a stop and secures the car. The examiner now asks Florin if he's happy with his position. Florin has a check and he seems happy. The examiner now says he's going to get out the car and check himself to be 100% sure. So he gets out the car and walks round and checks, and Florin is inside the bay. All four wheels are inside the lines. "Thank you," says the examiner. "Please drive on when you're ready." Head towards the gates and then turn left onto the main road, please. Coming out of the test centre, I normally advise people to come to a stop at the junction, as it's a 50-mile-an-hour road and traffic comes very fast. Florin just slows down, has a check, sees it's clear and pulls out. But generally, best advice from me is to stop at this junction, as it's the first junction on your test, and you could be nervous and might misjudge it if you rush it too much. At the roundabout, turn right, third exit towards Crawley. Florin checks his middle and right mirror, signals right, and keeps to the right lane. He then slows, checking for traffic to the right. He sees a gap coming up after the white van, so he gets his gas ready, finds his biting point, and then off he goes. Keeping in the right lane, also noticing the road markings, confirming he's in the correct lane for Crawley. Checking his mirrors, anticipating the lights could change any moment. Checking his middle and left mirror as he needs to move to the left lane soon, signalling left, having a final check of his mirrors, and then moving over to the left lane and slowing for the red light. As the lights change, he keeps to the left lane nicely, so a lot of people here try to go for the middle lane, but he does well to keep to the left lane. "When it's safe to, I would like to show me how you would turn on the rear demister," asks the examiner. Florin then operates the control and then turns it back off. "Thank you," says the examiner. Now noticing the roadwork signs in 1 mile, we anticipate there could be speed limit changes and lane closures. Florin notices as well the speed limit change to 30 miles an hour due to the roadworks. He also notices a sign telling him the right lane is going to be closing soon. The examiner has asked Florin to turn left to this roundabout first exit. He's checked his mirrors and he's already got his left signal on. He waits patiently for his gap, prepares his feet, and then pulls out when the opportunity arises. The examiner now advises Florin there's another roundabout coming up very soon, and we're going to be turning right, third exit. He advises him this as a hint to stay in the right lane here, not to go back to the left lane as you would do normally. So to confirm, at the roundabout, we're going to be turning right, third exit. So Florin checks his middle and right mirror, signals right, and then slows down for the roundabout to check what's happening to the right. He changes down to gear 2 because he sees a good gap coming up, and then proceeds onto the roundabout, keeping in the right lane and counting his exits. Exit 1, keeping to the right, keeping to the right. Exit 2, middle and left mirror, left signal, final check of middle and left mirror, and moving across to the left. Noticing on the new road a new speed of 30 miles per hour. The examiner advises Florin there's a mini roundabout coming up soon, and I'd like you to turn right at it, please. So Florin checks his middle and right mirror, signals right, checks to the right, and gives way to traffic to the right. Important to make sure the majority of your checks are to the right at a mini roundabout, as that's what you've got to give way to. Many people look ahead too often, thinking they need to give way to the cars ahead, and then they miss gaps, or they hesitate to pull out when it's clear to the right. Could you please pull up on the left just after these two side roads, just where the grass is and the wooden fences are? Thank you. So he checks his middle and left mirror, signals left, and pulls over where the examiner's asked him to. He stops and then secures the car and waits for further instructions. The examiner now reassures Florin, saying this is a routine stop, several stops and starts we need to do. So thank you, drive on when you're ready. Florin selects first gear, sets his gas, finds his biting point, important here because the hills start, checks his mirrors and his blind spot, releases the handbrake and off he goes. And there's another roundabout coming up soon. Please can you turn right again? Thank you. So Florin checks his middle and right mirror, signals right, and looks to the right, as remember this is who we give way to, not the traffic coming ahead towards us. He then goes round the roundabout and completes the turn. Thank you, says the examiner. Please could you pull up on the left just behind the silver car, get quite close to it, about a car length behind it. So after checking his mirrors and signalling left, Florin carries out the instruction and stops just behind the silver car. He secures the car and waits for further instructions. Thank you, please drive on when you're ready, states the examiner. Florin selects first gear and gets his feet ready, gas and biting point. Checks his mirrors, checks his blind spot, signals right, and off he goes. Please take the next road on the left. After checking his mirrors and signalling left, Florin slows and makes the turn. Please could you now find a safe place to pull up on the left? Anywhere along this road where you think it would be safe to do so. Florin checks his mirrors, signals left, and decides to pull up on the left just before the Mini. He mounts the curb slightly here. Pooh, says Florin as he thinks he's failed his test because he's mounted the curb. The examiner, however, just gives this as a minor fault for steering. After securing the car, the examiner now advises Florin, shortly I'm going to ask you to carry out an emergency stop. When I give this signal, he raises his hand and says, stop. I would like to stop the car as quickly and as safely as possible. Before I give that instruction, I will check it's safe. But when I look round, please try not to anticipate I'm going to give the instruction, because it might not be safe. So please drive on when you're ready. The examiner starts to check his mirrors and over his blind spots to make sure it's safe. It is. Stop, says the examiner. Florin brakes firmly and comes to a quick stop. He secures the car, and then the examiner says, "Thank you. Please drive on when you're ready. You'll be pleased to hear I won't ask you to do that again." Florin checks his blind spots and his mirrors, and off he goes. As we come around the corner, we notice parked cars on our side of the road. Florin sees a car ahead and considers pulling in behind the blue one, but thinks it's a bit late and carries on further down where there's a better gap to pull into. He pulls in nicely and then pulls back out once he's given way. At the end of the road, turn left. Florin checks his mirrors, signals left, slows down, checks it's safe to go, and then proceeds. "Please could you now pull up on the left in a safe place?" Florin checks his mirrors, signals left, and pulls over near the trees. "Thank you," says the examiner. Florin now secures the car and waits for further instructions. We're now going to start the independent driving section. We're going to be following some road signs today, please. So the first roundabout you get to, we're going to be turning left, first exit, and then following the road signs towards East Grinstead. So that's left at the first roundabout we get to, and then East Grinstead. Is that okay? "Yes," says Florin. As he approaches the traffic light, Florin notices he must turn left here, so he checks his mirrors and signals left and stops behind the white line. So here's the first roundabout we come up to, turning left here, remember. So Florin checks to the right and sees it's safe to go, and then proceeds onto the roundabout. He then realises he hasn't signalled yet, so he puts his left signal on now. He notices the roadworks are ending, so he checks his middle and left mirror, signals left, has a final check of his mirrors, and moves to the left lane to allow people to overtake if they wish. He does well here to anticipate the traffic lights, covering his brake, being ready to stop, and then committing, going back to his gas. First roundabout coming up, so remember, Florin's looking to go towards East Grinstead. So he checks the sign and notices East Grinstead is following the road ahead, second exit. So he keeps in the left lane, checks his mirrors, and then slows for the roundabout, preparing to give way to anyone coming from the right. He positions nicely, approaching the roundabout, aiming towards the left lane, and then keeping nice on the left lane as he enters the roundabout. Now I'd like to follow the road signs towards the M23, towards the motorway, M23. Florin checks the sign as ahead, third exit for the M23. He keeps in the left lane initially. He then notices board on the right, then confirms it's either middle or right lane for M23. He then notices board on the left that confirms the left lane will split and become the middle, so he stays where he is. We can see the lane splitting here, so he now stays in the middle lane. good position as he enters the roundabout, keeping in the middle lane, and then making sure he keeps on the lines, because this is a spiral roundabout and needs to follow the lane. The lane takes him towards the outside of the roundabout, and he does this well. And then he does well to keep in the outside lane, keeping within the lines. The examiner now asks Florin to follow the road signs towards 3 bridges. However, the next sign has fallen down, so he advises it's turning right, 3rd exit. So Florin checks his mirrors, signals right, and moves to the right lane as it's safe to and clear. As he reaches the roundabout, Florin doubts where he's going, so he asks the examiner, is it 3rd exit? The examiner confirms, yes, it's 3rd exit, please. As he enters the roundabout, he keeps in the right lane nicely as he's turning right, 3rd exit. He counts the exits. Exit 1, keeping to the right as he comes around the roundabout, checking his middle and left mirror as he needs to stay near the white line here. There's exit 2, so he's signalling left and then keeping to the outside lane. And then it's the next exit coming up. The examiner now advises Florin, just to remind you, we're still looking to follow the road signs towards 3 bridges. Florin notices he's going to be merging with traffic soon, so he checks his mirrors, signals right, then there's a final check over his shoulder and into his blind spot, and it's all clear, so he merges on. And on the left, we can see the road sign for the next roundabout, telling us 3 bridges is towards the right. Florin misses this sign as it's quite hard to notice behind the traffic lights. As he gets nearer the roundabout, he realises, "Pooh," says Florin, as he doesn't know where to go. He goes into the left lane and then stops, not knowing what to do. The examiner then advises Florin just do what's safe. Florin carries on ahead to the 1st exit. The examiner then advises Florin, please turn right to go round the roundabout. In the moment of panic, Florin forgets to move to the right lane. He does signal right, however, and then turns right in the left lane. He checks behind thoroughly, and it's all clear, and then carries on around the roundabout, being cautious of the silver car who pulls out in front of him, not expecting him to go round in the left lane. Please follow the signs towards 3 bridges, confirms the examiner. Florin notices the sign this time and turns left, 1st exit, so mirrors and signal done, and then proceeding onto the roundabout when it's safe to. At the next set of traffic lights, please turn right towards the town centre. Florin slows and checks the road markings well, noticing the middle lane is the most appropriate lane. He then stops at the red light. As he proceeds, he realises he hasn't got a signal on yet, so he puts his right signal on now, and does well to keep in his lane correctly, keeping to the outside lane. Florin eases off the gas, being ready to stop in case the lights change. Looking ahead, he then notices the right lane is going to be merging with him, so he checks his middle and right mirror, looking for any cars that might overtake him, and there's no one there. Please now follow the signs towards Brighton. Florin checks the sign and notices Brighton is towards the left. So when he approaches the next junction, he keeps in the left lane. Florin misses this road sign here, which confirms it's turning left for Brighton. He carries on towards the traffic lights, noticing the speed limit change to 30 miles per hour. Pooh, he goes, as he's not sure which way to turn. He keeps in the left lane, looks ahead, and notices the sign ahead of him confirms Brighton is towards the left. Just to remind you, we're still going towards Brighton, says the examiner. Florin notices on the board it's turning left, first exit. As he approaches the roundabout, he checks his middle and left mirror, signals left, final check of his left mirror, and moves to the left lane after the bus lane. He checks his right and sees it's clear and proceeds onto the roundabout. The examiner now advises Florin the next road sign is quite hard to see behind the trees. Florin notices it and notices it's turning right, third exit for Brighton. With his right signal on, Florin checks to the right and sees it's all clear and proceeds onto the roundabout, keeping in the right lane and starting to count the exits. There's exit 1, noticing the road markings confirming he's in the correct lane for Brighton. If we proceed, we can see exit 2 coming up. So Florin checks his middle and left mirror, signals left, a final check of his left mirror, and he moves across the left lane. The road markings also confirm this is the correct lane to be in. Having taken the exit, he notices the signs for the slip road. He also checks his right mirror as there could be traffic overtaking him at this point. He builds speed in a low gear and begins to check his mirrors and his blind spot with his right signal on. He sees it's all clear to merge, so he merges onto the dual carriageway. He then changes up to gear 5. The examiner now confirms that's the end of the independent drive. I'll give you directions as normal now. We're only going to the dual carriageway for a short while, for about half a mile. We're taking the next exit for Hand Cross. When Florin reaches the 300-yard marker, he checks his mirrors and signals left to take the next exit, maintaining his speed as his speed should be reduced on the slip road when he exits. As he crosses the dotted white line, he cancels his signal and then starts to reduce his speed. The examiner advises Florin to turn left at the roundabout, first exit. Florin checks his mirrors, signals left, slows down into the roundabout to see if it's safe to go. Please take the next road on the left back into the test centre. Florin checks his mirrors, signals left, and starts to slow to make the turn. Having slowed, he changes down his gears and then proceeds into the test centre. The examiner now advises Florin to follow the road to the left, back towards where we started. Please drive forwards into one of the bays on the right. Thank you. Please secure the car, switch the engine off, take your belt off. I'll be with you in a moment.